Hello everyone, this is Gringo in the kitchen, and today we're going to be doing something just a little bit different. We're going to be making some sweet bread. All right, and the ingredients that we're going to be needing for the sweet bread are flour, some all-purpose flour. Pillsbury makes a pretty good flour, so we use 4 cups of flour. Got some sugar. I choose to use the brown sugar because that's the sugar in its purest form. And we got 4 tablespoons of sugar. Going to have 2 eggs, 1 tablespoon of margarine. We got 1 teaspoon of salt. We got 1/2 cup of oil. I use coconut oil for that. And then also we got some milk. And I use 1 1/3 cups, and I also warm it up. And you warm up your milk because you don't want to kill the yeast. The yeast will work a lot better when you have warm milk or warm fluid. All right, and I use the active dry yeast. I believe it's they want 10 grams of yeast in the bread. All right, and the first thing we're going to do. Well, I also have some other ingredients here. We'll use a little bit later, but there's a vanilla will go with it. With the liquid ingredients, I believe it's about a teaspoon of vanilla. I've got some little decorations in the end we're going to be putting on the bread, and then also we've got the sweetened condensed milk. I'll show you how in the end how we're going to decorate the bread, make it sweet. Okay, let's begin with our dry ingredients. We got our flour here. We're going to add the salt. Okay. Then we're going to take the sugar, and then I've got my yeast, and just going to cut that open and put that in there. Once again, with the yeast, you want to, once you mix the wet ingredients with the flour and the dry ingredients, you want that to have some warm milk in there. That helps activate that yeast. Okay, just spread it around. Yeast is how you get the bread to rise. All right. Get it cut open a little bit better. There we go. Okay. I'm just going to mix this up. Make sure it's good and mixed, and then we'll start on our wet ingredients here in just a minute. The brown sugar tends to have it's a little bit clumpy, so you'll have to break it down a little bit. And actually, I might use this little whisk, they call it. And then you're going to keep a little bit of flour around on the sidelines here, because when you're making the bread, you don't usually get it perfect the first time, so you may have to add a little bit of flour just to get rid of some of the wetness in it. All right, so we're pretty good shape here. Everything's mixed. Again, just make sure all the clumps are gone. Okay. All right. Now we're going to get into the wet ingredients. Take our 2 eggs. All right, and we got our margarine. I think we get that for the salt content. It gets a little bit more salt that way. Okay. Got my oil. Again, I use, this is coconut oil. I'm going to mix this up a little bit before I get before I take and put the milk in here. Let's make sure the eggs, the yolks, are mixed up real well. Okay. Then, actually, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to dig a little well in here, in the flour. I'm going to pour the egg mixture into there. Okay. Okay, there's also I have to put a little bit of vanilla, but I pretty well can look at it and see what I want. So just a little bit there, okay? And now I'm gonna mix it up just a little bit. Then I'll put the milk in. Just start getting it mixed through here. Get the rest of the liquid in there. Get that yeast working. There we go. And now it's just a matter of mixing it up, getting it the right consistency until you can start kneading it with your hands. And then make sure you take your rings and your watches and everything off when you're using your hands here in the kitchen. So I'll be doing that here shortly. You can see how it's starting to come together. It's got ways to go. You got to get the right consistency of your mixtures of flour. So I'll get a little bit more flour on the sidelines here just to see if we're going to be. Okay, I've gone as far as I could with the spoon. So now it's just a matter of getting this together a little bit. Just starting. You're not really kneading it yet. You're just trying to get it started here. All right. Okay, now we're going to try to get the right consistency here. So we're going to have to add some flour. I always have a little bit of flour on the side here. Just work it in. You got to get it to where it really doesn't stick to your fingers anymore. And so it's got a little bit of a ways to go. Whoops, I got some on my apron here. You see how that looks? It's getting to a nice good point here. You just keep pulling it off your fingers. Okay. You just got to knead it. Sometimes 5 to 10 minutes. It just depends on where you're at with it. Then you got to let it rest for about 10 minutes. And then we take it and we start working it and make it into the shapes that we want to make it for the sweetbread. And then once you get to that point, then it sits for an hour, okay? And that's when the yeast really does its job. It's going to raise. And normally I just take and cover it. You can cover the pan with the dough in it. You can cover it with a little dish towel and put it in your oven. And that's where the oven's about 75, 80 degrees. And then that's where it really works, okay? Okay, I've been working the bread for about 5 to 7 minutes here. What I'm going to do now, I've got all the ingredients mixed. When you push down on it, you can see how it pushes back a little bit at you. So let's just go ahead and we're going to make a little bit of a ball in. We're going to let this sit for about 10 minutes, let it start working, and then we'll come back, add a little bit more flour, and then get into the process. All right, now we're going to go ahead and cover this. You can see how the dough looks at this point in time. And then we just cover it up, mark 10 minutes on your watch, and then we'll come back. The batter has been sitting for 10 minutes. Now we're going to take it out and put it on our board here and work with it a little bit. It's still a little sticky, and we'll just take it out of the pan, or out of the bowl, and start working it just a little bit. I'll be using that bowl once again. All right, now it's time to knead the bread, they call it. Okay. Just fold it into each other. Fold it in. Gets a little bit elasticy, if that's such a word. Okay. All right, and then while we're doing this, we got a new word for the week, and it's pao doce. And pao doce is sweetbread. If you translate it into English, it's PAO. DOCE. All right, that's your new word for the week. All right, I've been kneading the bread for a little bit now. It's the right consistency, I believe. I might need to add a little flour, but what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put it back in my bowl, and then I'm going to start cutting off pieces of this dough, and I'm going to use these pieces to make some ribbons that I'm going to braid, and then you'll see how it works out for the bread, okay? And I might have to grab a little bit more here, but you just use a knife and cut it. Okay, and then supposed to put it into a little bit of a ball here. All right. All right, so we're going to make these little balls here. You just have to get your feel for it, how big of a ball you want. I might just add a little bit more, make it a little bit bigger. Okay. Put it down in the flour. And then, like I said, we're going to use this ball here, and we're going to make 3 ribbons that we're going to form and make a really nice braid for our first loaf of bread. All right. Okay. There's 1. There's 2. 3. Okay. So. You just make your ribbons. Okay. And you want to get them sort of uniform. This here is about 12 inches. And then we're going to do the same thing over here. Okay, I'm working on my second ribbon. Some people do it laying on the counter. I have a little bit better luck just rolling it in my hands here. But I want to get them equal length. And if you think they're too long or whatever, you can make it, you can restart it. You just gotta do this in a timely manner, because this here bread is actually still rising. It's going to rise quite a bit more. So you got to get this done in a timely manner. All right. This one here I might cut off just a little bit on the first one, so they're matching. Add that to the other one here. Yeah, we got to get 3 pieces here because we want it to. It's going to be a braid. So in a braid, you know, you need three ribbons. Okay. And it's sort of tough, but we can get her done. Okay. And now they're about 10, 12 inches long. Okay. Form them out a little bit. All right, stretching them out just a little bit so they're the equal length. And then what we do is we join them. You have to join them here at the end. All right, put one right in the center. And again, you just want to make sure they're sort of the same length anyway. This one might be a little bit too long. I'm just going to take a piece of that off. Okay. And then here at the end, you got to make sure that you put them together so they don't move, okay? And now when you're braiding, you always go to the center, okay? Just go to the center. You go to the center. You go to the center. Go to the center. And then one final. You stretch them out a little bit. Go to the center. And then at the ends, you do like you did when you started it. You fold this together, and look what you got here. You got yourself a really, really nice looking piece of dough, and that's going to raise. So I'm going to do another one here. But first of all, I'm going to take this, and I want to put it in a pan here, because that's where we're going to leave it. We're going to leave it to raise. All right? So there we go. There's one. All right. Let's do another one. And like I say, it's sort of important that you work this a little bit fast, because this stuff is really going to start rising. We got 10 grams of yeast in there, and that works pretty quickly, especially when you put it with the warm milk. So I sort of like to flatten it out, and then I cut my pieces up for my ribbons equally. You try it anyway. Okay, you put the 2 pieces aside, then you start working your one. Getting my ribbons again. And just roll it. It's pretty elasticy. Go about 10, 11 inches. All right, one more here. Okay. I squeeze them together a little bit so I can get them, you know, sort of like a tube and the right length. Okay. All right. We bring them together. And I fold it so it doesn't pull out. So you get locked in on the end. This one here, always in the center, always seems to be a little bit long, but that's fine. And then remember, you go to the center. You go to the center. All right. And you can stretch it. Let's bring it down this way a little. Stretch it out a little bit more so you can get another time here. So this one, we're going to get him to go to the center. And then one more here. We fold it back to lock it. There you go. Now that's number 2. Okay. Okay, we got another one here. You want to get a little bit of flour on it so it's easy to work. You don't want to, if it starts sticking to your hands, then it's a little bit wet, but I think I got this the right consistency. I'm going to put a little bit more dough. Form it into a ball, then flatten it. Cut out your piece. There you go. This one here, it's getting a little bit more elastic than I want it. So it's got to work a little bit more, okay? You really got to put some pressure on it to get it to squeeze out and get the length you need. Okay. There we go. Okay, we've been making these ribbons here, and I've got somewhat the equal length here. All right, you're going to just bring them together. You always want one in the center. You know how you braid. You got the one in the center and the 2 on the sides, but you fold this so it doesn't come apart. Then you go to the center. You always go to the center. Okay. Always go to the center. Always go to the center. Okay. Stretch them out a little bit as you go. All right. This one comes to the center. This one, and then you bring it over at the end, and then you double it back so it doesn't come out. Okay. And I want to stretch this up here out a little bit. Okay. So that looks nice. Okay. So you can see we got 3 of them in the pan right now, and they're going to start rising. They're actually starting to rise already. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to have to cover these, and they're going to be covered for probably about an hour to let them raise, and then we're going to, we'll put them in the oven after that and cook. But the way we let them raise is we cover them with a dish towel, put them in the oven without the oven on, of course, because the temperature inside the oven might be about 75 to 80, and that's what it needs to activate everything and make it grow. So let's go ahead and get this started, and we'll be right back. Okay, here is the this is what we got back. Everything has been almost an hour. We had it in the oven, just sitting there and raising. So now it's raised to quite a height here. So what we need to do now, and we have to be very careful with this because we're going to be putting a light coating of, we got egg mixed with a little bit of milk. We're going to put that on top of the bread because we want it to glaze golden brown. But one thing about this, the reason I use a silicone brush is because I don't want to pop the bread, or what, I don't know what you would call it, pop it, or you can deflate the bread if you're not careful, and then all of a sudden you go from a sweet bread to a flat bread, and then it's really not usable. We'd have to start over again. All right, so you just put it on, be real careful, and then we're going to put our oven at 350 degrees for approximately 25 to 30 minutes, and we'll monitor that as we're going if it needs all that time or not. And then we'll pull it out. We'll add our final steps and be ready to go here. I did have a little bit of dough left over, and I made a little tiny one here on your left-hand side there. Okay. All right, we're back here with the finished product, almost finished. I'm going to be doing a few things to put on top of the bread, but you can see it's golden brown. Had it in the oven for about 30-35 minutes at 350 degrees. So now we're going to be taking some of this sweetened condensed milk, and with that I'm going to put a couple tablespoons of milk and add it to that, and then mix it. And then I'll put it across the top, then I'll show you what I'm going to do with it. All right? So we just mix that up. Sometimes you might need a little bit more. I like to have a good consistency here. Don't want to get it too thin though. So we're just going to mix it here. Just continue to mix it till that milk gets, till that milk gets all good and diluted here. And then I'll spread it across the top. And this you can get at Walmart or in any of the stores that's got the sweetened condensed milk. All right, I think we're good. I think I got a good consistency here. All right, and then just right across the top, just gonna go like so. It might run down the sides, that's no big deal. The main thing is just get it on the top here. All right. And this is good for kids. They'll really like this when we finish it off here. And the word of the day is pão doce. That's a Portuguese word that we use, but this is sweetbread. But pão doce, P-A-O-D-O-C-E, pão doce. Remember that, okay? Okay, almost done here. All right, I think that's almost enough there. Okay, we'll put that to the side. We've got the sprinkles here. We'll just mix them up a little bit. Okay, on the top of one of these here, you see how we're going to sprinkle these on here? Just some little balls. All right, there we go. And then I got some other ones here. Sort of mix them up, and then use my fingers. And just drop them around. It's little fun things for the kids to have. And we just sprinkle them on here. Looks like little horses, I guess. Little chocolate. There we go. Okay. Now, for the other one, I've got this is cashew nuts. We put it in the food processor and broke it down a little bit. So I'm going to take some of these cashew nuts and just spread them over the top. Just a few. Now, if somebody is allergic to nuts in the house, then you don't want to do that either. But for us, we're not. And then I also got some flakes. I got some coconut flakes that I like to spread on top of one of these anyway. Okay. Okay, the bread, I went and put it in the refrigerator for a little bit after I put the sweet stuff on top. And then I took it out of the pan, and you can see here it's really, really good looking bread. I'm going to go ahead and cut a piece here. Just cut a piece of this one maybe. All right. Yeah, there we go. You can see it right here.
Wow.
All right. And so this ends another edition of Gringo in the Kitchen. Today it's sweetbread. And I'd like to have everyone please subscribe, share, and like on Zenóbia's channel. And also on the left-hand side of your screen, her picture is going to come up. Make sure you click on that. That'll get you to subscribe it, okay? There's also some bells that will show up. Actually, the bells are on the beginning of the video. So just make sure you click on the bell, and just not only once, but click twice, and you'll be able to get the updates when there are new videos coming out. So also there's going to be a link on the bottom of this video for our Portuguese viewers that you'll be able to click in and see the exact same video, but in Portuguese. Para nossas pessoas que estão assistindo esse vídeo em português, eu vou deixar um link embaixo desse vídeo para vocês pode assistir o vídeo em português. Muito obrigado. So thank you so much for watching me. And as you can see, I've got my own apron now. Gringo, that's me. And that's Gringo in the kitchen. Make sure you share and tell your friends about this channel. And we will be back next week with another recipe.